The glass walls of Viridian Station stretched endlessly into space, reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Ji-woo Kim stood near the observation deck, his breath catching at the sight. Ships of every shape and size docked at the massive station, carrying beings from worlds he had only read about in training manuals. He was 32 years old, a xenobiologist and medic, and this was his first real assignment off Earth. The colony ship New Dawn had brought him here, to this place where dozens of alien species lived and worked together. He adjusted his uniform and walked toward the reception hall. Tonight was important. Earth's representatives were meeting with the Galactic Coalition's cultural liaisons, and Ji-woo was supposed to make a good impression. He was nervous. Most aliens saw humans as newcomers, primitive creatures who had barely learned to leave their own solar system. The reception hall was enormous. Beings of all kinds filled the space. Some had scales, others had feathers, and some glowed with soft light. Ji-woo tried not to stare. He grabbed a drink from a passing server and stood near a corner, watching everything. That was when he saw her. She stood across the room, speaking with a group of diplomats. Her skin was pale blue, almost silver, with patterns that glowed gently like stars under her skin. She was tall and elegant, with large eyes that shifted between violet and gold. Her movements were graceful, controlled. Everything about her seemed perfect, like she was carved from light itself. Ji-woo could not look away. Someone touched his shoulder. He turned to find Dr. Hana Park, his colleague from the medical division. She smiled knowingly. "That's a Sylvani," she said quietly. "One of the most advanced species in the Coalition. Beautiful, aren't they?" "Who is she?" Ji-woo asked. "Her name is Lyra. She works as a cultural liaison. She helps new species adjust to Coalition life." Hana paused. "Be careful, Ji-woo. The Sylvani are kind, but they keep their distance. They have their own problems." Before Ji-woo could ask what she meant, the crowd shifted. Lyra was walking toward them. His heart pounded. Up close, she was even more striking. Her eyes met his, and she smiled. It was a sad smile, he noticed. Beautiful, but sad. "You must be Dr. Kim," she said. Her voice was soft musical. "I have heard about your work in xenobiology. Welcome to Viridian Station." "Thank you," Ji-woo managed to say. "Please call me Ji-woo." "Ji-woo," she repeated, as if testing the name. "I am Lyra. If you need anything during your time here, I am here to help." They talked for a while. Lyra asked about Earth, about human medicine, about his journey. Ji-woo found himself relaxing. She was easy to talk to, genuinely interested in what he had to say. When she laughed at one of his stories, something warm spread through his chest. The weeks that followed brought them together often. The Coalition had started a medical exchange program, and Ji-woo was assigned to work with Lyra. They spent hours in labs and meeting rooms, discussing the differences between human and alien biology. Ji-woo was fascinated by everything about the Sylvani. Their cells regenerated faster than any species he had studied. They could live for centuries. They barely got sick. But as time passed, he noticed something. Whenever the topic of families came up, Lyra grew quiet. Once, they were reviewing data about human reproduction rates when she suddenly stood and left the room. Ji-woo found her on the observation deck, staring at the stars. "I am sorry," she said when he approached. "That was rude of me." "It's okay," Ji-woo said. "Did I say something wrong?" Lyra was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you know why the Sylvani are so eager to work with other species? Why we are so desperate to seem valuable to the Coalition?" Ji-woo shook his head. "Because we are dying," Lyra said simply. "Our species is dying, and no one can stop it." She explained everything then. 300 years ago, something changed in the Sylvani genome. Females began to lose their ability to reproduce. At first, it was only a few, then more, then most. Now, 9 out of every 10 Sylvani women were infertile. Their scientists had tried everything: genetic therapy, cloning, artificial wombs. Nothing worked. The problem was not in their genes, they discovered, but in something deeper. Something they could not understand or fix. "I was tested when I was 25, Lyra said. Her bioluminescent patterns dimmed. They told me I would never carry a child. I am 140 years old now, Ji-Woo. I have had a long time to accept it." Ji-Woo felt his throat tighten. He looked at this elegant, brilliant woman and saw the grief she carried. "How many children does your species have now?" he asked quietly. "Last year, across all Sylvani worlds, only 300 children were born. We used to have millions." She turned to him, and he saw tears in her golden eyes. "In 2 more generations, we will be gone. All of our art, our science, our history, gone. There has to be something we can do," Ji-Woo said. The words came out stronger than he expected. "Some treatment, some solution." Lyra smiled that sad smile again. "Hundreds of the galaxy's best scientists have tried. Even the Vex, who can manipulate genetics like you manipulate clay, could not help us. What makes you think humans can?" Ji-Woo did not have an answer, but something stubborn rose in his chest, something very human. He did not like the word impossible. He had become a doctor because he refused to accept that some things could not be fixed. "Let me try," he said. "Please, let me study the problem. Maybe fresh eyes will see something others missed." Lyra looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. "If you wish. But do not get your hopes up, Ji-Woo, and do not break your heart trying to fix something that cannot be fixed." But as she walked away, her patterns glowing softly in the dim light, Ji-Woo knew it was already too late. His heart was already involved. Not just in the problem, but in her. He would find an answer. He had to. Because the universe could not be so cruel as to create something so beautiful and then let it fade away into nothing. That night, Ji-Woo began his research. He did not know it yet, but he had just started something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 months passed like water through fingers. Ji-Woo spent every spare moment buried in research. His quarters on Viridian Station became a maze of data screens and holographic models of Sylvani cellular structures. He studied genetics, reproductive biology, evolutionary patterns. The more he learned, the more frustrated he became. Every path led to a dead end, but he kept searching. And he was not alone. Dr. Hannah Park joined his efforts. She was one of Earth's most brilliant geneticists, and she brought a sharp mind to the puzzle. Together, they worked late into the station's artificial nights, comparing human and Sylvani biology side by side. "Look at this," Hannah said one evening, pulling up 2 genetic sequences. "Human DNA versus Sylvani DNA. See the difference?" Ji-Woo leaned closer. The Sylvani sequence was perfect. Every gene aligned precisely, every marker in its exact place. It looked like art, like something designed by a master architect. The human sequence, by comparison, looked messy. Redundant genes, leftover viral DNA from ancient infections, backup systems for backup systems. "We are chaos," Ji-Woo muttered. "Exactly," Hannah said, her eyes bright. "We are biological chaos. But you know what? That chaos keeps us alive. When we get sick, we have 3 different immune responses that can kick in. When we move to new environments, our bodies adapt in a dozen different ways. The Sylvani do not have that. They evolved in perfect balance with their world. Everything fits together like a machine. So what happened? Jiwoo asked. Hana pulled up more data. They expanded to other planets about 500 years ago. New worlds mean new environments. New chemical compositions in the air and water. New rhythms of light and dark. For most species, that is no problem. But for the Sylvani, whose reproduction is tied to such precise conditions, it threw everything off balance. Jiwoo felt something click in his mind. So their infertility is not really a genetic disease. No, Hannah said slowly. It is a compatibility problem. Their bodies are waiting for environmental signals that no longer exist. Signals that tell them it is safe to reproduce. They looked at each other. The same wild idea was forming in both their minds. What if, Jiwoo said carefully, human biology could provide those signals? It sounded crazy. But the more they researched, the less crazy it seemed. Humans produced hundreds of different pheromones and hormones. Human gut bacteria created compounds that affected mood, health, even attraction. Human biology was a noisy, chaotic mess of chemical signals. What if some of those signals were exactly what Sylvani biology needed? Jiwoo brought the theory to Lyra one afternoon. They had been meeting regularly, always under the pretense of work. But something had shifted between them. The way she smiled when she saw him. The way their hands sometimes brushed when reaching for the same datapad. The way they found excuses to stay late, talking about everything except what they both felt. You want to test if human biochemistry can affect Sylvani fertility, Lyra said. She was sitting across from him in a quiet lab. Her patterns pulsed slowly, a sign she was thinking deeply. Yes, Jiwoo said. It is just a theory. But Hana and I think it has merit. We would need to run compatibility tests. Compare your biology with human biology. See if there is any response. Others have tried similar things, Lyra said. The Vex have biochemistry far more complex than humans. It did not work. But the Vex are not chaotic Li. Chaos, Jiwoo countered. Their biology is controlled, engineered. Ours is wild. Maybe that wildness is exactly what you need. Lyra stood and walked to the window. Outside, ships moved silently through the void. And who would you test? She asked quietly. Jiwoo's heart hammered. I thought I could volunteer. If you are willing. She turned to face him. Her eyes searched his face. Why are you doing this, Jiwoo? Why do you care so much about my species? He could have lied. Could have said it was just scientific curiosity. But he was tired of pretending. Because I care about you, he said simply. And I cannot stand watching you carry this grief. If there is even the smallest chance I can help, I have to try. Something in Lyra's expression cracked. For a moment, she looked vulnerable in a way he had never seen. You will be disappointed, she whispered. I have been tested by the best doctors in the galaxy. The answer is always the same. I am sterile, Jiwoo. That will not change. Maybe, he said. But what if it does? She was quiet for so long he thought she would refuse. Then she nodded. Okay, we will run the tests. But I am doing this for you, not for me. I do not want you to blame yourself when nothing happens. The tests began the next day. They were thorough and invasive. Blood samples, tissue samples, hormonal panels. They measured everything, tracked every chemical interaction. Jiwoo spent time near Lyra, deliberately exposing her to human pheromones. They monitored her biological responses hourly. For the first week, nothing changed. Lyra's reproductive system remained dormant, exactly as her medical records predicted. Jiwoo tried not to show his disappointment, but Lyra saw it anyway. I told you, she said gently. One more week, Jiwoo insisted. Please. On the 10th day, something shifted. It was small, barely noticeable. But the scanners picked it up. Lyra's hormone levels had changed. Not much, but enough to register. Hana ran the test 3 times. Then she called Jiwoo into the lab, her face pale. "Look at this," she said, pulling up the data. "Her reproductive system is responding. Actually responding. These hormones should not be present in an infertile Sylvani female. But they are there." Jiwoo felt dizzy. "Are you sure?" "I have checked everything twice." "Jiwoo, your presence is triggering a biological response in her body. It is like her system recognizes something in your biochemistry and is waking up." They told Lyra immediately. She stared at the data in silence. Her patterns flickered wildly. Something Jiwoo had learned meant she was overwhelmed with emotion. "This is not possible," she said. "But it is happening," Hana replied. Over the next month, they continued the tests. The response grew stronger. Lyra's body was changing in ways that should have been impossible. Her doctors on the Sylvani homeworld reviewed the data in disbelief. Word began to spread through the coalition's scientific community. The Sylvani High Council sent Overseer Valish to investigate. She was an older Sylvani woman, stern and skeptical. She reviewed everything with cold precision. "If this is real," she said finally, "it changes everything. But we must be certain. The hopes of our entire species rest on this." Jiwoo and Lyra stood together as Valish spoke. Their hands were touching, fingers intertwined. Neither of them had acknowledged what was growing between them. But it was there, undeniable. That night, under Viridian's twin moons, Lyra finally said what they had both been avoiding. "I love you," she whispered. "I think I have loved you since that first night. But I am afraid, Jiwoo, afraid to hope. Afraid to believe this is real." He pulled her close. "Then be afraid with me," he said. "But let us try anyway." She looked up at him, tears on her face. "If we do this, if we really try, it will not just be about us anymore. Our entire species will be watching." "I know," Jiwoo said. "But I do not want to do this for them. I want to do this for us. Because I love you too. And because we deserve a chance at happiness." Lyra kissed him then, her patterns blazing with light. And in that moment, they made a choice that would echo across the galaxy. The medical bay was silent, except for the soft hum of scanning equipment. Lyra lay on the examination table, her hand gripping Jiwoo's tightly. 3 months had passed since they made their decision. 3 months of living together, of learning each other, of hoping for something that seemed impossible. Dr. Hana Park studied the holographic display with intense focus. Her expression was unreadable. Jiwoo felt his heart pounding so hard, he thought everyone in the room could hear it. Overseer Valish stood in the corner, her face carved from stone. She had refused to leave Earth's embassy on Viridian Station, insisting on being present for every test. "Well?" Lyra asked. Her voice was steady, but Jiwoo felt her hand trembling. Hana looked up. Her eyes were wet. "You are pregnant," she said quietly. The words hung in the air. Jiwoo could not breathe, could not think. Lyra made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Valish stepped forward, her cold demeanor cracking. "That is impossible," the overseer whispered. "I have seen her medical records. She was tested by our best doctors. She is infertile." "Was infertile," Hana corrected gently. "These scans do not lie. There is a life growing inside her. It is very early, barely 4 weeks, but it is there. It is real." Lyra sat up slowly. Her free hand moved to her stomach. Tears streamed down her face, making her bioluminescent patterns shiver. "I can feel it," she whispered. "I thought it was just my imagination, but I can feel it. Something is different." Jiwoo pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him, shaking with sobs. He was crying too, he realized. They held each other while Hana and Valish spoke in low, urgent voices. "We must verify this with our own equipment," Valish said. "We must be absolutely certain." "Of course," Hana agreed. "But I have run these scans 5 times. The results are consistent." Over the next week, Lyra was examined by a dozen different doctors. Sylvani physicians, human specialists, even a Vex biologist who specialized in reproductive systems. Every single one confirmed the same thing. Against all odds, against centuries of failure, Lyra was carrying a child. The news spread like fire through the coalition. Within days, it was the only thing anyone talked about. The infertile Sylvani woman and the human man who had achieved the impossible. Scientists demanded access to their data. Politicians saw opportunities for alliances. Religious groups called it a miracle, but not everyone was happy. Ji Woo first heard about the purists from Hana. "There is a group of Sylvani who are not pleased," she said carefully. They were in her lab, reviewing Lyra's latest test results. They call themselves the Preservation Front. They believe that mixing with other species is wrong. They are calling your child an abomination. "Let them call it whatever they want," Ji Woo said, anger rising in his chest. "This child is a miracle. Lyra is happy for the first time since I met her." "I know," Hana said. "But be careful, Ji Woo. Extremists are dangerous when they feel their world is changing." She was right to warn him. The first threat came through a message in Lyra's communication terminal. Ji Woo found her staring at it, her face pale. The words were simple and brutal. "You carry corruption in your womb. For the purity of our species, it must be removed." Ji Woo deleted the message and held her. "They are cowards," he said, hiding behind anonymous threats. But the threats kept coming. Messages, warnings, angry crowds gathering outside the embassy. The Preservation Front was larger than anyone had realized. They had members across multiple Sylvani worlds, all united by one belief. The Sylvani species should remain pure, even if it meant dying out. Security was increased. Lieutenant Taiyang Choi, head of the Human Security Detail, assigned guards to follow Ji Woo and Lyra everywhere. Taiyang was a serious man with sharp eyes and a protective nature. He had served in Earth's military before joining the diplomatic corps. "I do not like this," Taiyang said one evening. He was reviewing security footage with Ji Woo. "These purists are organized. They have resources. And they are getting bolder. What can we do?" Ji Woo asked. "We need to move you both somewhere safer. Earth, maybe. Our security is better there." But before they could make arrangements, everything went wrong. That it happened during a diplomatic function. Lyra had insisted on attending despite Ji Woo's concerns. "I will not hide," she said firmly. "I will not let them make me ashamed of this child." They were in the main reception hall, surrounded by guests from a dozen species. Lyra was speaking with a group of Sylvani scientists who wanted to understand how the pregnancy had occurred. Ji Woo stood nearby, watching her glow with happiness. He did not see the figure moving through the crowd until it was almost too late. The attacker was a Sylvani male, his patterns dark with rage. He raised a weapon, something that looked like a small metal cylinder. Ji Woo knew instinctively what it was. A pulse disruptor designed to stop biological functions. "Lyra!" Ji Woo shouted, throwing himself forward. Everything happened in seconds. Taiyang appeared from nowhere, moving with combat-trained speed. He tackled the attacker, sending the weapon flying. Other guards swarmed in. The crowd erupted into chaos. Ji Woo reached Lyra and pulled her behind a pillar, shielding her with his body. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, checking her frantically. "I am fine," she gasped. "The baby? Is the baby okay?" They rushed her to the medical bay. Hana ran every scan available. Finally, she smiled with relief. "The baby is fine." Strong heartbeat. No damage. But the attack changed everything. That night, the Coalition Council held an emergency meeting. Earth's ambassador demanded better protection. The Sylvani High Council condemned the purists publicly, but Overseer Valish made it clear Viridian Station was no longer safe. "You must go to Earth," she said. "Our security forces will escort you. And Lyra, if you are willing, I would like to send our best medical team with you. We must understand this pregnancy. We must learn how to replicate it." Lyra looked at Ji-woo. He saw the fear in her eyes, but also the determination. "We will go," she said, "but not just for science. We are going because we want our child to be born somewhere safe." The journey to Earth took 2 weeks. Ji-woo spent most of it watching Lyra sleep in their cabin. She was exhausted from the stress, but the baby continued to grow. Hannah monitored her constantly, amazed by how well her body was adapting. "This should not be possible," Hannah said one evening. "Her biology is fundamentally different from human biology. But somehow, her body is making it work. It is like she is rewriting her own genetic code as she goes." "Life finds a way," Ji-woo murmured, repeating something his old biology teacher used to say. "Maybe," Hannah said. "Or maybe love finds a way." When they finally arrived on Earth, landing in Seoul, Ji-woo felt a weight lift from his chest. This was home. This was safe. He took Lyra to a secure medical facility on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by mountains and forest. That night, they stood on the balcony of their new quarters, looking at the stars. Lyra's hand rested on her stomach, which was just beginning to show the slightest curve. "Our daughter will be born here," she said softly. Somehow, they both knew it was a girl. They had known from the moment Hannah confirmed the pregnancy. "She will be beautiful," Ji-woo said. "Like her mother." Lyra turned to him, her patterns glowing warmly in the darkness. "She will be strong, like her father. Stubborn and brave and too stupid to believe in impossible things." He laughed and kissed her. Behind them, the lights of Seoul glittered like earthbound stars. Somewhere in the city, other Sylvani women were arriving, hoping for the same miracle. The data from Lyra's pregnancy was being studied by scientists across the galaxy. The impossible was becoming possible. And it had all started with one man, who refused to accept that some things could not be fixed, and one woman who dared to hope again. Seoul in autumn was beautiful. The mountains around the city blazed with red and gold leaves. Ji-woo wished Lyra could enjoy it without fear, but their new reality was built on constant vigilance. The medical facility where they lived was more fortress than hospital. Guards patrolled every corridor. Every visitor was screened 3 times. Lieutenant Tai Yang had personally overseen the security arrangements. "I hate this," Lyra said one morning. She stood by the window of their quarters, her hand resting on her growing belly. She was 4 months pregnant now, and the curve was obvious. "I feel like a prisoner." Ji-woo came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I know, but it is temporary. Once the baby is born, once people see that everything is okay, things will calm down." She leaned back against him, but said nothing. They both knew he was lying. Things had not calmed down. They had gotten worse. The galactic news networks were obsessed with them. Every day brought new stories. Some celebrated the pregnancy as a breakthrough. Others condemned it. The Preservation Front had grown bolder, publishing manifestos about the corruption of pure bloodlines. But more disturbing were the human voices joining them. A group calling themselves Humanity First had emerged on Earth. They argued that humans should not mix with aliens, that Ji-woo was betraying his species by having a child with Lyra. They held protests outside the facility, waving signs and shouting slogans. Ji-woo tried to ignore them, but their words still stung. "Your child will be a freak," one protester had screamed when Ji-woo passed by. neither human nor alien. It will belong nowhere. Tai Yang had pulled Jiwoo away before he could respond. Do not engage, the lieutenant had said firmly. They want a reaction. Do not give them one. But the hatred took its toll. Jiwoo found himself checking the locks on their door 3 times each night. He jumped at sudden sounds. And he saw the same fear in Lyra's eyes, the fear that their child would grow up in a galaxy that despised her. Dr. Hannah Park tried to keep their spirits up. She visited daily, bringing test results and warm encouragement. The medical data was extraordinary. Lyra's body was adapting in ways that defied explanation. Her cells had somehow learned to support the hybrid fetus, creating new biological pathways that should not exist. Other Sylvani women are asking to try, Hannah said one afternoon. She was reviewing scans of the baby. 47 females have come to Earth. They all want to know if they can have the same chance as Lyra. And can they? Lyra asked. We are running compatibility tests now. So far, 12 have shown positive responses to human biochemistry. Not as strong as yours, but something is there. Hannah smiled. You started something, Lyra. You gave your people hope. But hope was dangerous when others wanted to crush it. The second assassination attempt came at night. Jiwoo woke to the sound of alarms. Red emergency lights flooded their quarters. Lyra sat up beside him, her eyes wide with terror. Stay here, Jiwoo ordered, grabbing a communication device. Tai Yang. What is happening? The lieutenant's voice crackled through. Breach in the south corridor. 3 intruders. We are engaging now. Stay in your quarters and lock the door. Jiwoo could hear weapons fire in the distance. His hands shook as he helped Lyra into the reinforced safe room hidden behind their bedroom wall. It was a small space, barely large enough for 2 people, lined with metal and shielding technology. The baby, Lyra whispered. Her patterns flickered with fear. Jiwoo, I can feel her. She is frightened. She will be okay, Jiwoo said, trying to sound confident. We will keep her safe. They huddled in the darkness, listening to the chaos outside. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the door opened, and Tai Yang appeared. Blood stained his uniform, but his expression was calm. They are dead, he said bluntly. All 3 intruders. We also captured one alive for questioning. He looked at Lyra with something like pity. They were all Sylvani, members of the Preservation Front. Lyra made a sound like a wounded animal, her own people. Her own species was trying to kill her child. The Coalition Council held emergency sessions. The Sylvani High Council publicly executed the captured attacker, a harsh punishment meant to send a message. But Overseer Valish came to Earth personally with worse news. The Preservation Front has cells on 17 different worlds, she said. They were in a secure conference room, surrounded by guards. They have significant funding and support, more than we thought. How much support? Jiwoo asked. Valish hesitated. About 30% of the Sylvani population sympathizes with them. Not all would commit violence, but they agree with the core belief that we should die pure rather than be saved through contamination. Contamination, Lyra repeated bitterly. That is what I am to them, contaminated. You are a traitor to some, Valish said bluntly, but a hero to others. The galaxy is divided, child. You have forced everyone to choose a side. Jiwoo slammed his hand on the table. She did not force anything. We fell in love. We are having a baby. Why does that require people to choose sides? Because it changes everything, Valish replied. For 300 years, we accepted our fate. We were dying, but at least we were dying as ourselves. Now you offer hope, but that hope requires us to become something new, something mixed. Not everyone can accept that. The weight of it crushed Jiwoo. He looked at Lyra, seeing her pain and felt helpless. How could they protect their daughter from an entire galaxy's worth of hatred? But then something changed. Support began to emerge from unexpected places. Scientists from a dozen species published papers defending the pregnancy. Religious leaders spoke about the sanctity of all life. Human and Sylvani civilians formed protection groups, standing guard outside the facility alongside the official security forces. A human woman named Mrs. Kong, who lived in the nearby city, brought food every day. "My daughter married a man from Africa," she said when Jiwoo thanked her. "People said terrible things, but love is love. Your baby deserves the same chance as any other." Letters arrived from across Earth and beyond. Messages of support, gifts for the coming child, promises of protection. Not everyone hated them. Many people, perhaps most people, simply wanted them to be happy. Lyra began to cry when she read some of the messages. "Listen to this one," she said, her voice shaking. "It is from a Sylvani girl, only 20 years old. She says, 'Thank you for being brave. When I was told I was infertile, I wanted to die. Now I have hope that maybe someday I can be a mother too. Your daughter will save our species.' No pressure on the kid," Jiwoo joked weakly, but Lyra was not laughing. "She is right, though. Our daughter is not just ours anymore. She belongs to history. Everything she does, everything she becomes, will be watched and judged. Then we will teach her to be strong," Jiwoo said. "We will teach her that she does not need anyone's approval to exist, that she is perfect exactly as she is." As Lyra's pregnancy progressed, the medical data proved more valuable than anyone had imagined. Hannah and her team identified the specific compounds in human biochemistry that triggered Sylvani fertility. They were working on synthesizing those compounds, creating treatments that might help other Sylvani women conceive without needing human partners. But the treatments would take years to develop. In the meantime, 12 Sylvani women had chosen to try the natural way, partnering with human men. Some succeeded in becoming pregnant. Others did not. Each success brought joy and hope. Each failure brought grief. One evening, 6 months into her pregnancy, Lyra asked Jiwoo a question that had clearly been weighing on her mind. "What if our daughter hates us?" She asked quietly. "What if she grows up angry that we brought her into a world that despises her?" Jiwoo took her hand. "Then we will listen to her. We will help her. And we will make sure she knows that every moment of hatred she faces is not her fault. It is theirs." "You make it sound so simple." "It is not simple," Jiwoo admitted, "but it is clear. We love each other. We love her. Everything else is just noise." Lyra smiled, her patterns glowing softly. "Just noise," she repeated. "I like that." Outside, protesters still chanted their slogans. Security forces still patrolled the corridors. The galaxy still argued about whether they had the right to exist. But inside their quarters, wrapped in each other's arms, Jiwoo and Lyra found peace. Their daughter was coming. And no amount of hatred could change that. The contractions began just before dawn. Jiwoo woke to find Lyra sitting on the edge of their bed, breathing slowly through clenched teeth. Her bioluminescent patterns were pulsing rapidly, bright then dim, like a lighthouse in a storm. "It is time," she said simply. Jiwoo's heart jumped into his throat. 6 months. The pregnancy had lasted only 6 months, instead of the 9 months typical for humans, or the year-long gestation of pure Sylvani births. Dr. Hannah had warned them this might happen, that the hybrid nature of their child would create its own timeline. He hit the emergency call button. Within minutes, their quarters filled with medical personnel. Hannah arrived looking calm, but moving with urgent efficiency. Taiyang posted guards at every entrance. The facility shifted into lockdown protocol. They moved Lyra to the delivery room. a space that had been prepared for weeks. It was equipped with both human and Sylvani medical technology. Screens covered the walls, monitoring everything from Lyra's heart rate to the baby's brain activity. A team of 12 specialists stood ready, including 3 Sylvani doctors who had been sent by Overseer Valish. "How do you feel?" Hannah asked, helping Lyra onto the medical bed. "Like I am being torn apart," Lyra gasped. Her face was wet with sweat. "Is that normal?" "For human births, yes," Hannah said. "But I will not lie to you, Lyra. We do not know what is normal for this. You are writing the medical textbook right now." Another contraction hit. Lyra screamed, her back arching. Her patterns blazed so brightly that several people had to shield their eyes. Ji-woo grabbed her hand, letting her squeeze until his bones creaked. "I am here," he said. "I am right here." "Do not leave," she begged. "Please do not leave me." "Never," he promised. The hours that followed were the longest of Ji-woo's life. Lyra labored with a strength he had not known she possessed. The Sylvani doctors kept murmuring in their language, clearly worried. The baby was larger than typical Sylvani newborns, with a bone structure more like a human infant. Lyra's body, designed for smaller offspring, was struggling. "We may need to perform a surgical extraction," one of the Sylvani doctors said. "Her body cannot handle this much longer." "No," Lyra gasped. "No surgery. I want to do this naturally. I want to bring her into this world myself." "Lyra," Hannah said gently, "if we wait too long, we could lose both of you." "Then do not wait too long," Lyra said through gritted teeth. "But give me more time, please." Ji-woo looked at Hannah, silently begging her to agree. The doctor sighed, but nodded. "One more hour. But if there is no progress, we operate." Those 60 minutes felt like years. Lyra pushed with everything she had. Ji-woo whispered encouragement, wiped her face, told her how strong she was. The monitors beeped steadily, tracking the baby's heartbeat, which remained strong despite everything. And then, 14 hours after the labor began, their daughter was born. She came into the world crying, a sound that was somehow both human and alien. The medical team moved instantly, but Ji-woo barely saw them. His entire world had narrowed to the tiny being they placed on Lyra's chest. She was beautiful. Her skin was a pale lavender, lighter than Lyra's blue, but darker than Ji-woo's brown. Bioluminescent patterns traced across her body, faint but definitely there. Her eyes, when they opened, were dark like his, but with flecks of Lyra's gold. Her hair was black and surprisingly thick for a newborn. She had 10 perfect fingers and 10 perfect toes. "Nari," Lyra whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Our Nari." The name meant lily in Korean. They had chosen it together, a symbol of purity and new beginnings. Ji-woo could not speak. He could barely breathe. He reached out with a shaking finger, and Nari's tiny hand wrapped around it with surprising strength. "Hello, little one," he finally managed to say. "Welcome to the galaxy." Hannah was crying too, he noticed. So were several of the other medical staff. Even the Sylvani doctors looked moved, their patterns glowing with what Ji-woo had learned to recognize as joy. "She is healthy," Hannah announced after running quick scans. "All vital signs are perfect. Lungs, heart, brain, everything is functioning beautifully." Outside the delivery room, word spread like wildfire. Within an hour, the news had reached every corner of Earth. Within 2 hours, it had spread across the coalition. Within 3 hours, billions of beings across dozens of worlds knew. The hybrid child had been born, and she was alive. The Coalition Council held an emergency broadcast. They showed a carefully edited recording of the birth, with Lyra and Ji-woo's permission. They showed Nari's face, her perfect little features, proof that 2 species could create life together. The response was overwhelming. Messages flooded in from everywhere. Some were hateful, of course. The Preservation Front issued a statement calling Nari an abomination. Humanity First called for her to be quarantined. But those voices were drowned out by millions of others. "She is beautiful," someone wrote. "This gives me hope for the future," wrote another. "My daughter is infertile. Now maybe she has a chance," wrote a Sylvani father. 3 days after the birth, Overseer Valish arrived on Earth. She came to their quarters, flanked by guards, and asked to hold Nari. Lyra hesitated, then placed the sleeping baby in the old Overseer's arms. Valish looked down at Nari for a long moment. Her stern expression softened. 300 years, she said quietly. 300 years since I held a Sylvani infant. I thought I would never feel this again. She is only half Sylvani, Lyra said. She is hope, Valish corrected. She is proof that our species can continue. And she is beautiful, Lyra. You should be proud. Over the following weeks, more Sylvani women came to Earth. The 12 who had successfully conceived with human partners wanted to be near Lyra to learn from her experience. Some of them were already showing their own hybrid children growing inside them. A support network formed naturally. Human and Sylvani couples sharing their experiences, helping each other navigate the challenges of interspecies pregnancy. Scientists continued their research, getting closer to synthesizing the compounds that could help more Sylvani women conceive. Nari grew quickly. At 1 month old, she was already alert and responsive. Her bioluminescent patterns brightened when she was happy, dimming when she was upset. She made sounds that were a mix of human coos and Sylvani chirps. She was fascinated by everything, her dark eyes always watching, always learning. She is going to be trouble, Taiyang predicted. He had become an unofficial uncle, often visiting to bring gifts and check on security. I can tell already. Too curious for her own good. She gets that from her father, Lyra said. She gets that from both of you, Hana corrected, laughing. The death threats continued, but they grew less frequent. The protesters outside the facility dwindled from hundreds to dozens to just a handful of bitter holdouts. The galaxy was slowly accepting what Nari represented. On Nari's first birthday, they held a celebration. It was not just for her, but for everything she symbolized. Representatives from 30 different species attended. Some came out of political obligation, but many came because they genuinely wanted to celebrate this child who had changed their understanding of what was possible. The party was held in a garden within the secure facility. Autumn had returned to Seoul, and the air was cool and crisp. Nari tottered around on chubby legs, her patterns glowing with excitement. She was not quite walking yet, but she was close. Every few steps, she would sit down hard on her bottom, look surprised, then try again. Ji-woo stood with Lyra, watching their daughter explore. His arm was around her waist. She leaned into him, peaceful in a way she had not been a year ago. "Do you remember what you told me?" Lyra asked. "That first night on Viridian Station, when I said nothing could fix our fertility problem?" "I said, let me try," Ji-woo recalled. "You were so confident, so stubborn. I thought you were foolish." She looked up at him, her eyes shining. "I was wrong. You were not foolish. You were human. Is that a compliment?" "The highest one I can give." She kissed him softly. "You taught me that sometimes the answer is not to accept impossible. Sometimes the answer is to be too stubborn to believe in impossible things." Across the garden, Nari had reached a group of Sylvani children. 3 of them, all born in the past 6 months to human Sylvani couples. They were all hybrid children, all beautiful, all proof that life would continue. They played together, their patterns pulsing in rhythm, while their parents watched with tears in their eyes. Hana came over, carrying a glass of wine. "I just got the latest data from the research team," she said. They have successfully synthesized the key compounds. Clinical trials will begin next month. If it works, any Sylvani woman will be able to conceive without needing a human partner. That is wonderful, Lyra said. But some may still choose human partners anyway. Love does not need a reason. Ji-woo said dot as the sun set over Seoul, casting the garden in golden light. Ji-woo thought about everything that had led to this moment. The despair, the hope, the fear, the joy. All of it had brought them here, to this perfect afternoon with their daughter, playing in the grass.nar. I suddenly looked back at them and smiled. Her first real smile, full of joy and mischief. Then she took 3 wobbling steps forward before falling again. Did you see that? Lyra gasped. She almost walked. She will be running soon, Ji-woo predicted. Then we will really be in trouble. But it was the good kind of trouble. The kind that came from life continuing, from hope being born, from love proving that nothing was truly impossible. The galaxy had changed. Species that had thought themselves doomed now had a future. Barriers between races were breaking down. And it had all started with one human who refused to accept impossible. And one alien who dared to hope again dot as Nari finally managed 4 whole steps before tumbling into her father's arms. Ji-woo held her close and whispered, "Welcome to the universe, little one. It is not perfect, but it is yours. And we will make sure you always know that you belong here." Nari grabbed his nose and laughed, her patterns blazing with light. And in that moment, surrounded by family and friends, human and alien alike, Ji-woo knew that everything they had gone through had been worth it. Their daughter was not just Nari. She was hope itself, given form.